Welcome everybody. We're just giving people rolling in a few minutes later, so we're just gonna let people kind of do that for another couple of minutes, but welcome. For anyone who's here for the first time or who doesn't know me, my name is Rosemary Malfi. I am the Pollinator Network Coordinator at NOFA Mass, and they she her pronouns, and I'm happy to see everyone here tonight. Can I just is anyone here for the first time? Emoji hand. Anyone here for the first time?
I'm trying to figure out the hand, but me.
Oh, hi Nicole. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is great. Oh, and yes, okay, wait, so we have at least a couple people.
There we
Welcome,
go.
everybody. There we go. There's the emoji hand. Awesome. Oh, Brucey, I see your message. Listening, but multitasking. No worries. Okay. Well, there are more people registered for this than I'm just debating how long to wait, but I could probably just get started with some general announcements. And then what we usually do is a round of introductions in smaller groups, depending on how many folks we actually have in the room. We may do that as a larger group, or we may do those smaller breakout rooms. So we'll figure that out in just a few moments. But before we do that, I just wanted to go over some general updates for folks. So if you're here for the first time, the general idea behind these meetings is that we have people from across the state who are in our network, and these meetings offer an opportunity for everyone to connect, to update each other on things that are happening in our local communities, and to exchange knowledge and ideas, and sometimes to hear from a guest presenter about a particular topic, which is what we'll do tonight. And I often will do some sort of general, oh, sorry, those are my kids in the background. We'll do some general bulletins. So I am going to start with those this evening. The first thing that I wanted to let folks know about, and you may be tracking this already, is about a bill that was just reported out of committee. So we do, advocacy work around bills often related to pesticide reform. This one is a little bit different, and in fact, more squarely related to pollinators, and it is a habitat bill. It was unexpected for it to actually be reported out favorably during the session, because it's been introduced, I think, for a few sessions now, and has never really advanced. So this is very exciting that it's actually moving ahead in the legislative process. The bill was introduced by Representative Keith, who is a beekeeper, and it's H4603, and I will put the link in the chat for folks to take a closer look at that bill if you'd like. In our next newsletter, which will be going out this week, we will also be letting folks know about it, and what we would like is for everyone, to the best of your ability, or whatever capacity you have, is to push support for this bill. What it would do is establish a commission to study how the state can better support pollinator health, and has a very clear focus on how the state can do more to actually build habitat, which we all know is something that really needs to happen to change the trajectory that we're on with regard to pollinators and insect biodiversity. So it's very exciting, and I just wanted to let folks know that that was happening, and that it's something we'll probably be talking about over the next couple of weeks, because we want it to make it out of Ways and Means and actually make it to the floor for a vote. Vivian will be covering this in a little bit too, but I also wanted to let folks know that Pollinator Week is in June. It is the week of it's the third week of June. And my calendar, yeah, it's the week of the 20th. So at the end of that week, we are partnering with Housatonic Heritage, Vivian's organization, to host an event with Evan Abramson. So I'm gonna, again, Vivian will talk more about that, but I'm just gonna put the link into the chat in case anyone wants to register now for that class. So that's the Eventbrite. link that I just put there. And it is a class, so there's a 4-part class, which Vivian will talk about, and this is one of the classes, and you can register for free for this particular class if you are part of the Massachusetts Pollinator Network. So that's the arrangement. So if you go to that link, you can register for free. And the last sort of broad announcement I wanted to make is that DCR is it does the Growing Wild campaign. So that's sort of their campaign to talk about native plants and pollinators. And last year they launched this initiative to produce pollinator plant kits for folks to pick up for free from certain nurseries. It was a pretty small initiative last year, and this year they've tried to expand it. And those kits, I believe, are going to be available starting tomorrow, June 1st, from select nurseries. So I'm going to put that link into the chat as well, so that you can see if there's a nursery near you that is participating. I don't know what is in the kits. If you go out and find some, I'd love to get your report about what's in them and how you feel about them and how easy it was to access them. So that would be great. Awesome. All right, well, those are just my general updates. Now we've let folks come in. I think we have a reasonable enough number of people to maybe do a very brief round of large group introductions, but that would be just your name, your pronouns, where you're calling in from, and maybe something, brief about a project that you're working on, or something that's come up in your community that you'd like folks to know about. All right. So I'll start this popcorn style, and I'm just gonna pass it to Heidi. Heidi, do you want to go first?
Okay. As you may know, I'm a member of the steering committee, and I'm working on a project to get like regular nurseries, not nurseries that specialize in native plants, to identify their native plants using stickers. And that's been an interesting journey with some good successes and some good enthusiasm. I guess that's been my main activity. I've also given some talk on pollinator gardening. I'm a master gardener intern, which has turned out to be actually a good way to connect with other people who want to learn more about gardening for diversity.
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. Yes, and if anyone is interested in participating in that campaign, please reach out to us.
I could definitely use more volunteers.
We could use more.
A lot of nurseries out there.
Yes. All right, great. Thank you, Heidi. And I'll pass it to Gary, and then Katie, and then Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary. I'm in Northborough, which is near Worcester. I'm in the middle of implementing a pollination garden at what's called Watson Park. And this weekend, and this garden is one that's being installed with no funding. That's what makes this garden unique. So it's we grew I did a bunch of workshops in town, distributed 2,000 milk jug kits that I made myself, including soil, seeds I collected, and the community grew the plants. And this Saturday is the first volunteer day to install them. So the site prep I did by sheet mulching and removed the wood chips, just finished 15 minutes ago. That's why I was late. So Saturday is the day we're transplanting.
That's great.
Oh, and I got endorsement to install a meadow adjacent to it. So right now it's a non-native grass field, and I'm installing a I would call it a medium size little blue stem meadow with probably 66% little blue stem, and the rest will be the extra plants that are made. And each seed pack I gave to people was enough for 2 kits. One they keep and one they donate back to Watson Park. So that's how we're doing it. And if we have extra plants, Dr. Jagir plants, they're going in the meadow to make up the 60-30 split between little blue stem grass and then the other.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Gary. Katie and then Nicole.
I'm assuming there's only one Katie here.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm Katie Hone, and I have a tiny native plant nursery called the Monarch Gardener up here in Ipswich, Mass. And it's been a crazy year. I apologize for missing the last 2 meetings. I've just been like working 7 days a week, literally. I mean, Rosemary's been to my farm stand. It's been like a no touch anything till I open at 10 o'clock kind of situation. It's like vultures waiting for me to open and stuff is just flying off my tables. It's crazy. I'm currently multitasking. These are little common milkweed seed packs I collected here in Ipswich for a 4th grade classroom who asked me if they could give them out. So that's what I'm doing right now in between going back. I mean, once it's over, I'm going to go back out to my potting bench and probably pot up more species until the mosquitoes carry me away, because I literally cannot keep up. So yeah, if anyone else wants to open a native plant nursery, go for it. Because it will be very successful. I highly encourage it. Anyway, that's it.
Katie and I live not so far from each other, and I have been there a couple times over the last few weeks, and it is awesome.
And you've been on a Friday. You should come on Saturday. It's insane. I literally had to stand there, and I'm like, nobody touch a plant until 10 o'clock. It's like, can I touch with my eyes? like a kid. I'm like, okay. So they were like waiting for me to say it's 10 o'clock.
But it's so great because it shows you how much
it is. But yeah, I definitely need a farm. Anyone selling a farm in the North Essex County area?
And an assistant, yes.
I need one. Yeah, it's nuts. I can't keep up. So, which is a good thing, but I do wish that were more of me. Yeah.
Thanks, Katie.
I need myself.
All right, Nicole, and then we'll go to Peggy, and then Carol.
Hi, everybody. My name's Nicole. I am from the Brockton Public Library. I am the teen reference librarian, and I am heading and involved in 4 gardening related projects that we're starting. We are starting a community garden. We are starting multiple pollinator gardens at the main library and the 2 branch libraries. Blanked on the word branch, sorry. In the Tulip branch libraries, and I even called the highway department about the island in front of one of our branches that's not being used for anything, and they gave us complete permission to do whatever we wanted as long as we're the ones handling it. And I'm really excited about that. We're also working on a seed library, and we have a COVID memorial that is a art sculpture that's being made, which is going to be surrounded with a garden of native plants. So there's definitely a lot of interesting plant related things that we're getting into here.
That's great. And I'm sorry, I missed just where are you calling in from?
Brockton.
Brockton. Okay, that's what you said. Wow, that's awesome. That's great. Seed libraries. And is the island is that part of like the highway system, or is it town land, or?
It's in the town, but the highway department of our city owns it. Okay. It's their property. So we had to reach out to them and see if they'd be interested in working with us to at least work on it.
Okay, cool. I might follow up with you more about that, because we have a roundabout up in Gloucester that we're working on too. Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Peggy.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Carol.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Peggy in Northfield, Mass, and I'm not doing anything as grandiose as most of you. I just have a new piece of property, a few acres, that's a blank canvas, and I want to do the right things with it. So I'm learning.
Awesome. Thank you, Peggy. If you happen to be interested in seeding something this year or maybe next year, there is a study going on in the state about seed mixes or flower composition and disease transmission in bees. So if that's something you think you might be interested in, we can connect outside the meeting about that too. Cool. All right. I think it's Carol, and then we'll go with Trisha and Kate.
Hi, I'm Carol Horowitz. I live in Florence, and I guess what I'm focused on right now is I let almost all of my plants just go to seed last year. I didn't cut anything back, which is kind of a disaster because first of all, I have to let things grow to recognize them because I want to give things away. So, but I'm kind of overwhelmed with the amount of things I have growing, and I want to give them away, but I'm looking for advice. Like a lot of people in my neighborhood use pesticides, so I was thinking I would have a free plant sale, but I think I don't want to really give them to people who use pesticides or who spray for mosquitoes. So I don't know. I know we're not going to discuss that now, but I'm kind of looking for advice about that, and also how to give plants, where to give plants away. Where's the best place to give plants away? I have things like tons of yarrow, New England aster, verbena hastata, butterfly weed, anise hyssop. I have many of those plants and other things too that I haven't even identified yet. So in the future, at some point, I'm looking for advice, or if you want to send me any message in the chat. Or if you want any of my plants.
Yes, if anyone does have specific advice about that, which I'm sure many folks do, yeah, please put that information into the chat, because I'd be curious too. I think one thing I've done recently, Carol, I think you're on Facebook. Yeah, you're on Facebook too.
Yeah.
Then I joined a plant exchange group that is very local to me, and I don't know how many of those are out there, but
Good idea.
I bet there's one for your area. And the day after I joined, I got a bunch of raspberry canes from somebody. So it's seems like a good
I don't want to get jumping worms. I don't have them yet, so I don't want to take anybody's plants. I'm not taking anybody's plants, but I will give I don't have them, and I will give my plants. So far, I don't have jumping worms.
Yes, well, good to stay that way. Awesome, thanks, Carol. And then I think I said Trisha, and then Kate.
Hi, I'm Trisha Arrington. I'm from Salem, and I'm a new member of the Salem Native Nursery. I'm not sure if anyone from our group has been on before, but we are a nonprofit, and we're having 2 plant sales this summer, one on June 12th and again on July 2nd. And I think we're actually getting plants from the monarch gardener. And we sell our plants just to make them available in our community, but also to fund some trail projects, and then to we like to give plants away to other groups who are doing pollinator gardens and things like that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Trisha. I also live in Salem, so I'll connect with you outside the meeting. All right, Trisha.
Hi,
yeah,
I'm Kate McDonough, and I live in Conway, and I'm a former nursery manager, native plant nursery manager, had worked for Native Plant Trust for a number of years, and I just am really excited and encouraged to hear that so many of you are starting native plant nursery initiatives, and it's just great to see and that level of excitement and demand. So I am now more focused on things in my town, and a group of us have gotten together and created a group called Pollinate Conway, which we're similar to the Pollinate Northampton idea. And we just last weekend, after jumping through a whole bunch of hoops to get approval and get everything lined up, we're able to install, basically replace a section of garden in town property that was catmint with native plants, quite a range of species, about 85 different plants that'll have a long blooming season. So anyway, it's gratifying that we finally got it installed and had some volunteers helping out. So So that's kind of the big news for us. And I'm sure there are going to be more projects down the road as we can manage to get that approved, get the funding.
Great, thank you, Kate. Can't remember if I named folks after Kate, but I in order of who I see, I go with Nikki, and then Elizabeth Erickson, and then Alan.
I am Nikki Howell. I have a small native plant nursery with my partner, Emily Van Noort, Lady Fern Farm. We're based in the Worcester County area. We do small pop-ups. We've done a plant sale with the REC in Worcester, the Regional Environmental Council. We'll be doing a plant sale in a few weeks in Worcester. We'll do some for Broadmeadow Brooks butterfly event this year. I'm also a member of the Worcester Native Plant Initiative, which is a new group that we started. And the larger goal is for us to get the city of Worcester to ultimately be planting only native plantings going forward. We have a lot of education to do. And what we're working on right now are some initiatives in the city where we're doing some planting projects so that they can be seen and understood. And then hopefully, you know, the city will see what we're doing and we can work with them in a more meaningful way going forward.
That's great, Nikki, and it's nice to see you. I know your name, and are you working with Leo Da Silva by any chance?
So Leonardo's part of the Worcester Native Plant Initiative with us,
Okay. Yep.
and he's doing some separate projects at the UU Church in Worcester, or one of the UU churches in Worcester, and they're amazing. He's a really great person to have on our team at with Worcester Native Plant Initiative. So
Awesome. I just want to make sure it was the same
yes.
group. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Elizabeth, Allen, and then I think I have Brucey, Farha, and Anna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth, and I live in Coleraine, and I am on the steering committee and part of representing Green Greenfield. And Green Greenfield has a number of projects, one of which I'm working on and have been working on, sadly, in the summer, is trying to finish up a website that connects all the different, sort of a pollinator corridor website for the town of Greenfield that connects all the public gardens and hopefully eventually maybe the private gardens in town, so that you can sort of see a little map of where the insects can travel and maybe have that be a basis for other projects in the future. I was really delighted. I've always been very interested in what Heidi does about educating nurseries, and we were invited, our team was invited to the Just Roots Community Farm pollinator plant sale, and many of which, you know, there were many pollinator plants that were cultivars and non-native plants. And I took I had Heidi send me a few of the stickers, and just spent a lot of time just talking with people who were very, very friendly to the whole idea of native plants, but not knowledgeable about it. And so it was actually delightful to go there, put the little stickers on the 4 native out of the 35 or whatever they were selling, the 4 native plants, and encourage people to buy them, talk about the importance of them. So that was fun. Really support people being part of that project. And I'm actually delighted that now we have, that Coleraine has now, the Franklin County Council of Governments has applied for another grant to have a few more towns be part of the pollinator corridor, the pollinator project that's funded by the state. And Coleraine was not part of the last batch, but hopefully will be part of the next batch. So I pulled together a little group of people to go to the town meeting to get the fairly conservative select board to approve it. And it has been approved by that and by our planning board. So maybe we'll be going ahead with Coleraine being a pollinator town too. I'm excited about that.
That's very exciting. Thank you, Elizabeth. Alan, and then Farha and Anna.
Hi, I'm Alan Nogi from Newton. I've been potting up over 120 little seedlings from my winter sow for my own garden and to give some away. I'm with Friends of Cold Spring Park in Newton, and we just got approval to do a small demonstration pollinator garden using mostly Dr. Jagir's plants in the park. Although we did not get the funding that we'd hoped for from the city. So Gary, you're not unique in that respect. I'm also working with the Newton Community Pollinator Project. We are working on supporting a few other native plant pollinator gardens in process in Newton, working on honeybee regulations and working on a native plant ordinance very slowly.
Thank you, Alan. I think Farha, are you there?
Yes. Hi, I'm Farha. I am from Lynn, Mass, but I'm in between Providence and Lynn now. I'm a student. Don't do nearly as many pollination as you guys. I just got a little community garden plot and I'm trying to learn more about how to make it a native pollinator garden. So just thought it would be nice to learn and then see what other people are doing, what plants they like, things like that. And I'm also a master gardener intern.
Oh, wonderful. Well, welcome. And I'm sure folks would love to share their favorite plants. Maybe we can do one of those waterfall things in the chat where everyone puts out their favorite plant. Awesome. And then, Anna, did we get to you yet? No, right?
Yep. Hi.
Hi.
We've been concentrating mostly. Oh, I'm Anna Hanchett from Plainfield, and I'm on the AgCom, which seems to be doing most of the pollinator stuff. We've just gotten out of the stretch to do the spray opt-out, which went through our select board, and so now we can concentrate on gardens again. Just looking forward to the summer. There's an sort of extensions of our group are going to have a children's class on making bee houses, and I'd like to sort of extend that idea and try to start more educational things for kids and possibly extend that into the school year as well. But get the children knowledgeable about some of these things, about the pollinators themselves and about the plants too.
Very,
And
very
Farha,
valuable.
I don't know whether you might want to connect with Nick Dorian at Tufts, if the two schools, if that would help you any at all, just before I forget.
And Anna, you also need to take credit for getting some of those stickers out to the nursery, a bunch of nurseries in the Berkshires.
Oh, okay. I have to check back with them and see what they're doing with them, if they're actually using them right or using them at all or having success. I don't know.
I think the thing that I've realized through all this is that it's a long journey and it's not going to be perfect, but just getting the idea planted and getting the plant list out there is actually a huge accomplishment. So,
and some of the nurseries were really excited, and I also ran across Halia, which is has all native plants specifically grown for the Berkshires in our area. That's in West Stockbridge.
Yes, and thank you to all of our volunteers on that project. It's been great, and I think very well received, and I'm looking forward to seeing it expanded over the season and into next year. So yeah, again, if anyone's interested in participating in that, or if you know folks in your community who are, we're definitely looking for additional people and additional regions to include.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
think it really needs to expand into, I don't know exactly how many areas it's in already, but to contact as many dealers of plants as you can.
Yep. Right. I want to turn things over to Vivian shortly here, but Brucey, I think I may have missed you. Are you there?
Hi, I'm nearby.
Brucey?
I live in Arlington between Lexington and Cambridge in the east part of the state. And I am with Sustainable Arlington and also the Mr. Charles Pollinator Pathway Group. One of the things that's happened lately in Arlington is the installation of a native plant and pollinator mural on our main thoroughfare, Massachusetts Avenue, across from our high school. The inspiration came partly from the Arlington Commission. They changed their name. It used to be the Arlington Council for the Arts. Let's just call them that. That gives you the general idea of who they are. And they often collaborate with different environmental groups and also with the schools. And so the school sustainability coordinator and the Arts Council person reached out to Jean Devine and me from Mr. Charles, and we met with middle school students and then with some high school students and the mural artist. The result of that is a new mural, and I will send a photo maybe for the newsletter. But there's it lists a bunch of, the mural shows a bunch of different native bees and some of our native moths. Also has a lovely ruby-throated hummingbird next to a cardinal flower. So.
Sounds lovely. Yes, if you have a picture or if there's like a little news article, please send it and I'll definitely include it in the next newsletter. Great.
I guess the other thing I'd quickly like to say is that we have a very active new group that's working on invasives management with and collaborating with the environmental planner here in Arlington. And now starting to think about how to occupy that space where the invasives have been removed so that they don't come back with a vengeance. So we're working on seeds, and we hope to get money for some plugs, plant plugs as well.
Awesome. Very important. Great. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I know we have a couple of folks who just came in, but I'm going to turn things over to Vivian, who's our guest presenter tonight. And if folks have just come in, feel free to put your information in the chat, just where you're calling in from and anything you'd like us to know about you. But yeah, so I'm going to turn things over to Vivian. Thank you so much for being our guest presenter tonight. Vivian is the Director of Operation Pollination with Housatonic Heritage. It's a very exciting program. They've accomplished a lot, and Vivian has been the driving force behind the Great Barrington Pollinator Action Plan, which Evan Abramson helped to write up, has been the driving force behind actually implementing that plan, which has been very exciting for me to learn about. So thank you, Vivian, for coming and sharing your work with us tonight. I'm going to start screen sharing your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone see that?
No, that's not the start.
That's not the... Oh, sorry. This is what happens when you have two monitors. Good?
No.
No, you can't. Can folks see that screen?
That's not the first slide.
Oh.
That's not the first slide. That's the second slide, I think.
Oh.
No.
Oh, there we go. Here we go.
The first slide is a sunflower. That's it.
All right. There we go.
Great. So good evening. I'd like to express my appreciation for all of you in the Massachusetts Pollinator Network, and especially for Rosemary and Marty's inspiring leadership I also want to recognize the groundbreaking pollinator networking by Peggy McLeod and colleagues in the Western Mass Pollinator Network, which I first became affiliated with several years ago. As Rosemary mentioned, I'm involved in Great Barrington with the Agricultural Commission, and but tonight my focus is on more a national and regional effort concerning Housatonic Heritage's Operation Pollination Program. As you can see on the slide, the formal name is the Upper Housatonic Valley National Heritage Area, and we're one of 55 national heritage areas in partnership with the National Park Service. The Upper Housatonic Valley extends for about 60 miles from the headwaters of the Housatonic River in Lanesboro, right north of Pittsfield in the Berkshires, down to Kent, Connecticut, in the northwestern part of Connecticut. And this area was part of the traditional lands of the Mohican Nation. That next slide. As you can see on the map, their lands extended more than the Housatonic Heritage Area, but it definitely overlaps, and it's outlined with in white on this map, and the black outline area is of the Munsee Lenape people with whom the Mohicans eventually emigrated under duress to New York State and then later to Wisconsin, where they are now located. And we in our area are gradually expanding our contacts with them. I'll go into that more later in my program. Next slide, please. Operation Pollination didn't start in our region. It was officially founded as a national initiative in 2018 by Chris Stein, who is the National Park Service's Chief of National Heritage Areas and Large Landscape Initiatives for several Midwestern regions. And Chris realized how essential pollinators are to life on Earth and to everything else that he was doing. And he first partnered informally in 2015 with the St. Croix National Heritage Area whose land is in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And then in 2018, other national heritage areas in the Midwest became active. As a longtime Rotary member, Chris then reached out to his Rotary district to pursue pollinator habitat conservation. Next slide, please. This led to the official creation of the National Operation Pollination Program as an inclusive framework to help national heritage areas and Rotary district clubs. I guess it was on the previous slide. The aim is to recruit a diverse array of organizational partners to engage in pollinator habitat restoration and education activities. In this slide, we feature the momentum that Rotary has been gaining and now has signatories not only in the US, I think Wisconsin is represented in this slide, but also in England, Scotland, Wales, Mexico, and India. And actually one of the most active members that I've been on Zoom calls with is from India. Next slide, please. After a lull during the first year of the pandemic, more Rotary districts have been joining. Here's a list on this slide. And Chris offers to give a live online presentation to any interested Rotary group anywhere in the world. So we can think about any current or potential connections we might have with Rotary members in our respective areas and how you might partner with them to engage them in pollinator projects. A lot of them are devoted to various community service projects, and Operation Pollination seeks to make pollinator activities and education as part of those community service projects. And for example, next slide. In June, 3 Rotary districts will sign joint Operation Pollination initiatives with their regional national heritage area. This includes, as you can see on the list on the left, 3 Rotary districts and 5 national heritage areas that are in Massachusetts and also Connecticut. The national heritage areas tend to often cover more than one state, but there's some in Massachusetts that are just Massachusetts and some that cover overlap with other states. And we're going to be signing in our National Heritage area is going to be joining in this outreach to Rotary and encouraging their participation in various activities, both on their own and in combination with projects that we're involved with. Next slide. So adapting the model that Chris started with national heritage areas in the Midwest, Housatonic Heritage launched our own Operation Pollination program in 2019. And our first major engagement was organizing the Operation Pollination Summit in 2019. And participants range from Indian Line Farm, the first CSA in this country, Greenagers in Egremont, Massachusetts Audubon Pleasant Valley Wildlife Sanctuary in Lenox, and from the Northwest Conservation District in Torrington, Connecticut, to Berkshire Environmental Action Team and Berkshire Natural Resources Council, which are both in Pittsfield. And summit participants were guided through the appreciative inquiry process. This is an energizing whole systems interactive method that builds on participants sharing their own positive skills and experiences. And by early 2020, summit participants had signed pollinator pledges, but then COVID-19 changed everything. Next slide. So after the summit, we followed up on one initiative that was the consensus of the group, which was to do more in terms of education. And before the pandemic's impact, although it was in early February, we didn't realize how bad things would get. Our first educational event was in collaboration with the Berkshire International Film Festival, as well as with Bard College at Simon's Rock. Peter Nelson, who's the director of award-winning documentary titled The Pollinators, had a showing of his film, and then there was a panel discussion. We attracted a turnout of 200 pollinator enthusiasts to the film on the afternoon of Super Bowl Sunday. So a lot of people felt they could forgo the pregame and learn more about pollinators. And other educational initiatives included assisting students at the Marvelwood School to film, do their own film concerning pollinators. We had other outreach planned to our school district here in the Southern Berkshires, but all plans were sidelined then by COVID. Next slide, please. So skipping ahead to early 2021, Housatonic Heritage Operation Pollination went virtual by participating in an 8-week national training to develop citizen science projects on pollinator protection. The National Park Service's Chris Stein organized a team of 4 national heritage areas, and we called ourselves Team TOPS, the Operation Pollinators. And the Schoodic Institute at Acadia National Park in Maine led the citizen science training. Next slide, please. We worked on organizing an Operation Pollination Citizen Science Walk in the Field for September 2021, but due to COVID complications, that unfortunately had to be revised. Next slide, please. So our next steps focused on a relatively COVID-proof online program in collaboration with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, known as OLLI, O-L-L-I, at Berkshire Community College. The inspiration for this course was thinking about the following question. As we face contemporary crises ranging from climate disruption and pollinator extinction, what can we learn from the experience of Indigenous people who lived and thrived here for thousands of years? Two OLLI members, Kate Kidd and Michael Wilcox, who have taught classes in OLLI on Indigenous history, offered vital guidance on this course, and they will be participating in it. Michael is volunteering additionally to help facilitate the course. And in addition to the online course, which takes place Friday afternoons from 2:30 to 4, from June 3rd, starting this Friday, to June 24th, at the end of the month, two of our guest presenters will offer guided walks in September, but more about that later in my presentation. Next slide, please. This course called Honoring Our Indigenous Heritage, Native People, Plants, Pollinators, benefits from connection from two programs of Housatonic heritage, two previous programs. One program is Operation Pollination, and the other is the Native American Heritage Trail, which has been developed in collaboration with the Stockbridge-Muncie community. Next slide, please. Drawing on what we learned, especially insights from our four guest speakers, class participants will have the opportunity to consider initial interpretation and planning for a self-guided experience at Berkshire Community College's John Lambert Nature Trail. Next slide, please. The plants found on the trail will be connected to the native pollinators that help sustain a now endangered but previously regenerative ecosystem. And here the image shows the famous image that Robin Wall-Kimmerer talks about in Braiding Sweetgrass and in many of her presentations about goldenrod and native asters and other biodiverse ecosystems. Next slide, please. Dr. Margaret Bruchak will present the first class. She's an associate professor of anthropology and coordinator of Native American and Indigenous Studies at the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Bruchak is of Abenaki descent and will discuss her research on 19th century Indigenous healers, including her previous living history performances as an Indian doctress, D-O-C-T-R-E-S-S, at Old Sturbridge Village, as seen as in this photo where she is in costume explaining to young people at Old Sturbridge Village. And we also hope to get her insights as a consultant to various museums and historical sites, many in Massachusetts, concerning trail interpretation projects. Next slide, please. Russ Cohn has degrees in land use planning, natural resources, and law, and he worked professionally as river advocate in the Division of Ecological Restoration of the Mass Department of Fish and Game. But wild edibles are Russ's avocation, and he's been leading wild edible talks and walks for more than 45 years. Many of you probably have had the fortune to experience one of these walks with Russ. Next slide, please. Misty Cook grew up on the Stockbridge-Muncie Community Reservation in Wisconsin and served as their Director of Education and Cultural Affairs after earning her master's degree. Misty was certified as a tribal medicine woman due to her years, many years of tracing oral history, fieldwork, and experience with traditional native medicinal plants as documented in her book called Medicine Generations. She spent a lot of time interviewing her family elders and other elders in the Stockbridge-Muncie community. Next slide, please. Evan Abramson, who some of you know, is founder and principal of Landscape Interactions. He holds a Master of Science degree in Ecological Design from the Conway School of Landscape Design and certificates in Permaculture and Biodynamic Gardening. He co-authored the Great Barrington Pollinator Action Plan and also a plan for Lincoln, the town of Lincoln, Massachusetts. Since 2009, he's designed more than 300 acres of pollinator habitat creation in the Northeast. Both Evan and Russ will each offer separate guided walks in September. Evan's walk on September 10th, with a rain date of September 11th, will be at the pollinator pathway he designed in Egremont, Massachusetts. Russ is planning a walk at Berkshire Community College's Nature Trail on September 15th. Evan's walk will be in the morning and Russ's walk will be in the afternoon. And the final slide, please, after this. In celebration of National Pollinator Week, as Rosemary mentioned at the beginning, OLLI, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, Housatonic Heritage, and the Massachusetts Pollinator Network are offering free access to Evan's June 24th class, because the overall class does have a fee through and pre-registration through OLLI. In this case, pre-registration is required with the Massachusetts Pollinator Network through Eventbrite. And I think Rosemary, you're going to put the link to the Eventbrite registration in the chat so that all can access that. And I'd also like to put the link to the course. There's a full description. I just gave a very brief summary right now, but there's a full description on the OLLI website. Can you enter that, please, too, Rosemary?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I can do that.
Thank you. So I welcome your questions, and I hope you can join us at least on June 24th, and if possible, online for the other Friday classes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vivian. It's very exciting to hear about all of the things that are happening out that way, and about the upcoming course and presentations. Is a really impressive lineup of speakers. Do folks have questions about Vivian's presentation? I'm gonna just pull up those links and drop them in. Here is, I just dropped into the chat. I had it at the beginning too. This is the registration for Evan's class in particular, which is free if you register with the Massachusetts Pollinator Network. And so that's that link. And then I'm also putting into the chat the link to the full course. There we go. Okay, so those are both in there. Oh, Heidi, go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
I have a question for Vivian. A couple questions, actually. So what exactly is a national heritage area? Is that, and does that give you some unique kind of entree into funding possibilities?
Yes, so we're a nonprofit organization, so we do rely on donations, as do all nonprofits. But in addition, we get part of our budget through the National Park Service.
So how did that work? Because
I wasn't there when it started. We became a National Heritage Area in 2006. And I think we were not among the first round. They came in. It came through federal legislation that was needed. Here I have some basic information here.
So wait a minute. So the federal government designated an area as a national heritage area, and then you associated a nonprofit with that? Is that how that worked?
As I say, I
Oh, you
am
don't
not
know.
involved in the administrative or budgetary aspects of it, but we have a wonderful executive director, Dan Bolognani, and he's been with this heritage area for about 20 years. I do know that we were included in the group that was approved by legislation in 2006. So that's as far as
You'll give me his contact information and maybe I could just ask him, aha, National Heritage Area.
what
Okay.
if you could. I'm going to use this presentation elsewhere, so I don't want to put my personal email out there right now. But if you indicate whatever you'd like to know and send it to Rosemary, care of the Pollinator Network. If you send that to me, then Heidi, I'll connect with you and help you directly as much as I can, and then refer you to Dan on the questions that I don't have the background in.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, she just sent a link that seems to have some
information.
Some information.
But you said was
Housatonic? Where are you located, Heidi? I don't know you.
I'm in Western Massachusetts also, but I'm actually in Belchertown, and there's a whole bunch of projects going on in Belchertown that really need some funding. And you seem to be so incredibly successful in getting funding. So I was wondering if any of what you did would be available to us. We're not part of a national heritage.
I don't know of a national heritage area, that would cover the Connecticut River Valley, actually.
Don't think so.
I've had a lot of connection with the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor.
Yeah, that's not.
They're very active there and have done a lot for pollinators. And there's also Last Green Valley National Heritage Area. These all bridge Massachusetts and Connecticut. And then there's some in the Boston area. So those of you in the greater Boston area, it would be worth looking. Thank you for posting that link, Rosemary, for National Heritage Areas. Yeah, you can find your National Heritage Area there. But Heidi, what I would suggest is outreach to the Rotary.
Yeah, I went to their website and it wasn't obvious how they would fund things. It was
well, as I understand it, I don't think they're a grant making organization. The idea would be to engage them in your project as part of their community service. A lot of them are doing various
group.
A lot of them are doing, various, pollinator gardens and working, with outreach to the community. They're a great resource, and it's something that we haven't done yet in our area. But as of when we signed these agreements in June, we're looking forward to a more in-depth contact and in mobilizing local Rotary people. If you don't have a national heritage area, I don't think you would have access to any funding. I could be wrong, but they are specific areas where the focus is both on the history, culture, and ecology of not both, includes a broad span of conservation efforts, as I say, in history, culture, and ecology.
Okay, thank you.
Heidi, maybe we could cooperate on sort of the Pioneer Valley group of cities, because out here we certainly don't have that. Vivian, I was wondering if you're also including that rich African American heritage that you've got over there in any of this. I mean, you talked a lot about the Native Americans, and I was wondering if you also
Well, this particular project focuses on the indigenous Stockbridge Munsee community. Housatonic heritage has been a major backbone and funder and organizer concerning the Clinton Church Restoration Project, which now has a new name, like the W.E.B. Du Bois Center. I don't remember the new name. They just changed the name in the past few months. So I'm not, it's not familiar with me.
I don't know.
But as you remember, you were involved with Esther Dozier and the Clinton Church, and they were very much. Anna and I were involved with a women's interfaith group, and we were very much involved in Martin Luther King celebration. And with, at that time, the pastor of this church who died under tragic circumstances, and the church then is now, since then, the church has been subject of a major effort with Housatonic heritage, as I say, is the backbone of it, to restore the building and to bring in the local history, African-American history, especially focusing on our native son, W.E.B. Du Bois. So that's what you're referring to, but that is not part of it's a 4-week course, and the focus is on the Stockbridge Munsee Mohican heritage.
I guess I meant in a broader way, not for that course.
Do other folks have questions? Because I also have one that I was going to ask. So I just have I wanted to get some more details about how the outreach to the Rotary clubs works, because the Rotary clubs themselves are not, this is not their primary issue necessarily, right? They're a service organization is my understanding of them. And I just quickly Googled I didn't know there was one in Beverly. It looks like there are many towns that
there are many, yeah.
So how does that work? Are we looking for Rotary clubs that are already sort of engaged in kind of a gardening activity, or are we encouraging them to kind of take that on, or what does that relationship building look like?
What I'd like to do is later in June, we're going to sign for National Pollinator Week. We're going to sign this joint agreement with these 3 Rotary districts, which encompass many clubs. The districts are, I don't know how many clubs per district, but it's quite a few. And I can find out which towns these districts encompass, and I could send that to you, and you could indicate the list. And that would mean that you could contact your local club and say, I understand that your district recently signed. I'll send you a copy of what the joint agreement is, and you contact your local Rotary club, or you could go right to the district. I'll try to provide contact information at the district level and say, I'm in your district, and I'm excited that you're engaging in Operation Pollination, the national movement of Rotary International, and we'd like to reach out and see how we could partner with you. I can also provide, at that time, I can get Chris Stein's permission to share his email. And as I say, he has volunteered to kind of be the leading edge, where if you just make the initial contact, he will do an online presentation to your club or to your district and talk about what they're doing nationally, so these Rotarians can learn from others. Chris has recruited what he calls about 40 Operation Pollination ambassadors. Most of them are from Rotary clubs and Rotary districts throughout the country and even internationally. And I've been on Zoom calls with them, and they are doing a lot of exciting projects. So I see a great opportunities, and it's more kind of hands-on type of projects. That a lot of you are doing. So I see great potential for for collaboration and for getting, both personal commitment, hands-on in the dirt, et cetera, type of commitment, and also them helping to provide funding for the project, not so much to hand over a check to you, but to provide needed supplies for the project, kind of more of in-kind type of support, which, if it helps you achieve your aims, why not?
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea, and I think it got my gears turning. So I feel like one thing
we need more information, and as I say, we haven't done it yet in our National Heritage Area. One of the districts on that slide that we are pairing up with, but the numbers probably don't mean anything to you. I mean, I don't know where is the district. It's our district is 7890, and then the other two districts in covering either Massachusetts or Massachusetts and Connecticut are 7910 and 7930. So I have to find out the towns that those cover. Looking at I did see a map of the area, and it looks like to me, it covers about half of Massachusetts, just those districts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that something that comes up a lot is the maintenance of these projects, right? So you can get funding sometimes to get something installed. You can apparently, something I've learned recently is you can a lot of times work with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation even to get something installed. We're talking about an actual rotary like the roundabout, but they have nothing to do with the maintenance after they do the install. And so partnering with clubs like this, I feel like is one possible solution for looking after those projects after they've gone.
Yeah, it's people power.
Right, exactly. And that's frequently listed as one of the concerns for people when you talk about these projects is, there are questions around how they get maintained. And so if there's an answer to that question, I feel like those things end up being more well received and successful.
So later this month, I'll provide Rosemary with all the information about the joint agreements and the town, the list of the districts with enumerating their major municipalities in their district, and maybe not every little single town, but you'll know that if, for example, if the district includes Northampton, that probably it includes Florence also,
right.
That type of thing, right? So I'll send you that list, and I'll also get Chris's permission. I'm sure he's always expressed willingness to do this initial outreach to explain the program, and he can, at his fingertips, he can bring up a lot of examples and answer a lot of questions, since he's been doing this now originally and formally since 2015, and then formally since 2018. So he's a very positive person, and very pleasant to deal with, and very devoted to Operation Pollination.
Cool. Yeah, I'd like to get in touch with him at some point. That's great. We are coming close to 8:15, which is the official meeting end time. Does anyone have any other lingering questions or comments? Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming out tonight. It's great to have see you all and also meet some of you for the first time. I like that we have like multiple native plant growers in the room. That's very exciting. And thank you, Vivian, so much for presenting on what Housatonic Heritage is up to in Operation Pollination. They have a website too, so you can feel free to go check that out. I'm looking forward to discussing with you, Vivian, more after the meeting or in the coming days about that Rotary Club idea, because that is very cool, and I'm interested in learning the logistics around that. And just as we're exiting, maybe folks in the chat, you could just once again drop like your name, where you're calling in from, and your favorite plant, if you will. As before you head out, you can just drop that in. And I just want to remind everyone that you can save the chat. So I know there was some side conversations, questions and answers. Many of you are probably familiar with how to do that, but just in case, if you go to the chat, like the little place where you would type in your message, there are 3 little dots. And if you click that, there's a place that says save chat, and then you save it. And for me, it goes to my downloads folder on my computer. Everyone's computer is different, but usually that's where that file ends up. And I'm excited to see what plants people put in.
Are you asking us to send this to everyone or just to you?
No, not just to me. It just in the chat to everybody. Just that way we have a record of everyone who is here and what your favorite plant was. And then we'll check back with you. Maybe it will change next year. Maybe it'll be a different favorite plant. Awesome. Yes, and so thank you everyone so much for being here. And our next, I should always end with when our next meeting is. Obviously we have Pollinator Week coming up. We have that wonderful Evan Abramson event as part of our programming. And then our official monthly meeting is actually the following week, I believe on the 28th, that Tuesday. And the topic for that meeting is going to be actually thinking ahead to the coming year and what priorities everyone finds important, and giving folks a chance to get into some breakout rooms and just sort of actually talk with each other about the things that you're working on, the things that you find important, and hope that the Pollinator Network will work on in the coming year, because June will mark basically a 1-year anniversary of this network sort of emerging and coming into existence. So it'll be a good time to reflect and think forward. Yeah. All right.
When you say the coming year, do you mean like July 1st to June 30th and the 5th? Like our
next
fiscal
year? Yes, exactly. We've been here for a year, and we can think about what we'll all be up to in the next year. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to hang out here for a second to let those answers roll in. But thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you all